Modern crocodiles and alligators are among the few animals from the age of dinosaurs that not only survived these giant reptiles but have also changed very little since then. Today, we'll explore the reasons behind the divergence of their common ancestor into dinosaurs and crocodilians. You'll learn why the ancestors of crocodiles managed to survive the catastrophe that wiped out the dinosaurs and why crocodiles have remained so unchanged over the millennia. Following the massive extinction that marked the end of the Permian period, a wide variety of ecological niches became available. These niches were quickly filled by reptiles belonging to the archosaurs. By the middle of the Triassic period, archosaurs split into two major groups, the ornithodorans and the cruritarsans. Ornithodorans include dinosaurs, pterosaurs, and birds, while cruritarsans encompass crocodilians, as well as the now extinct phytosaurs. Although phytosaurs were not direct ancestors of modern crocodiles, they closely resembled the crocodiles we see today at the beginning of the Triassic period. They inhabited freshwater environments and primarily fed on fish. The main external difference between phytosaurs and modern crocodiles was the position of their nostrils. In phytosaurs, the nostrils were located on the top of their snouts rather than at the tip. During this time, the earliest crocodilians were becoming the most widespread and formidable terrestrial predators, and in some cases, even herbivores. To thrive, they developed various adaptations. Some learned to move on two legs and run quickly, while others became lighter and more agile. Many cruritarsans in the latter half of the Triassic reached impressive sizes. Scientists have yet to determine which of the late Triassic cruritarsans was the ancestor of all living crocodiles and alligators. Two species are considered the most likely candidates for this role, Erythrosuchus and Dinosaurera. To date, scientists have identified two species of Erythrosuchus, one that lived in what is now Scotland and another in the present-day United States. They measured no more than 60 centimeters in length and were likely social animals that hunted small herbivores. Dinosaurera also inhabited what is now the North American continent. It grew to about 2 meters in length but would not have reached even the knees of an adult human when standing. Its distinguishing features included a prominent dorsal armor and an unusual ribcage structure. The ribs of this creature were curved almost at a right angle. Another candidate for the title of ancestor to all crocodiles is Seleucic, also known as Usic or Colossal. This species lived in what is now China, led a semi-aquatic lifestyle, and primarily fed on fish. It reached lengths of up to 4 meters and stood about 2 meters tall. It is believed that Colossal had a crest on its back similar to the sail of a Dimetrodon or a Spinosaurus. Among the cruritarsans of the Triassic period, another group worth mentioning is the boar Crocodylomorphs. They measured around 2 meters in length but were relatively light, almost elegant creatures. Their long limbs were positioned beneath their bodies. There is a belief that these animals could run quite quickly. However, the Permian extinction opened up not just niches for large and small terrestrial predators. Some cruritarsans adapted to a vegetarian diet. This herbivorous family of ancient crocodilians is known as the Aetosaur. They were widespread across the globe, with the largest species reaching lengths of up to 5 meters. It seems that the evolution of living beings during that period progressed more rapidly than at any other time. Each species was eager to outpace its competitors in the race for the newly available spaces at the top of the food pyramid. The first dinosaurs could only dream of their future dominance over the planet for hundreds of millions of years. However, another extinction event led to the disappearance of the largest cruritarsans. Only those inhabiting rivers, swamps, and coastal areas managed to survive, while the rest of the territory fell to the dinosaurs. Strangely enough, this circumstance saved the cruritarsans from complete extinction alongside the dinosaurs. By the early Jurassic period, dinosaurs became the dominant force on the planet. With cruritarsans confined to water bodies and coastal areas, they had no choice but to develop adaptations suitable for survival in these conditions, as well as to partially explore the seas and oceans. Their bodies elongated, their limbs repositioned along their sides rather than beneath them, and their snouts became narrow and elongated, while their bodies were covered in thick armor. At times, the evolution of cruritarsans took quite peculiar forms. For instance, it is believed that a species called Stomatosuchus fed on plankton just like modern whales do. A group of marine reptiles known as thalattosuchians abandoned the robust armor of their ancestors. They developed more streamlined bodies, likely allowing them to swim faster. Some varieties of crocodiles even began to evolve from limbs into full-fledged flippers. It would be fascinating to see where the further evolution of such creatures might lead. But by the onset of the Cretaceous period, dinosaurs and other marine reptiles had pushed crocodiles out of the seas. Even today, there are very few crocodiles that inhabit saltwater. Notable examples of modern marine crocodiles include several species found in Southeast Asia and Australia. However, many of them do not live in saltwater permanently. They typically traverse it from one island or river mouth to another. By the middle of the Cretaceous period, crocodiles had no choice but to evolve as freshwater predators, and in this environment, they outperformed dinosaurs, giving rise to true giants. Sarcosuchus is the most famous and one of the largest crocodiles discovered by scientists. Despite their resemblance to modern crocodiles, Sarcosuchians were only distant relatives. These monstrous creatures could reach lengths of up to 9 meters, and some estimates even suggest 12 meters, weighing as much as 2 tons. In contrast, Deinosuchus, which went extinct at the end of the Cretaceous period, belongs to the alligator family within the crocodilian order and inhabited what is now North America. The ancient supercontinent Pangaea, which later split into South America, Africa, and Australia, was densely populated by various crocodiles. By the end of the age of dinosaurs, the ancestors of modern crocodiles and alligators had become formidable freshwater predators, perfectly adapted to their environments. Nature had little left to add to their arsenal of adaptations, and since there were no new habitats for crocodiles to occupy, their evolutionary development essentially came to a standstill. The very monsters we see on Earth today were also present at the end of the Cretaceous period. Alongside the dinosaurs, the largest crocodiles went extinct. Scientists believe that the survival of smaller species came from their ability to adapt to the ecological niches created by the more advanced dinosaurs. Crocodiles can survive on just one meal a year. Essentially, they are omnivorous creatures, capable of deriving energy not only from meat but also from carrion. It is thought that the crocodile species that survived were those that could burrow into the riverbed silt, feeding on the silt itself, the remains of aquatic animals, and even their own waste. Cannibalism is also not foreign to crocodiles. By feeding on one another, a group of reptiles known as Zooxians, which includes all species of crocodiles, alligators, caimans, and gharials, managed to survive the global catastrophe and give rise to new branches of crocodilian evolution. However, it seems they did not manage to return to land in time. Mammals, which had reached a higher level of development, occupied those spaces. This has had a significant impact on the lives of modern crocodiles. The descendants of one of the creatures that also survived the dinosaurs, humans, are actively destroying the crocodiles' habitats. Scientists note the remarkable adaptability of crocodiles to changing living conditions. Their ancestors rapidly altered their body structure and feeding habits over relatively short evolutionary timescales, quickly seizing new territories for survival. Yet, the descendants of these ancient reptiles may struggle to cope with human activity. We would like to thank the viewers who watched this video to the end. If you're interested in the evolution of different animal species, we recommend checking out other videos on our channel.